The Ocean County political spectrum is a finely crafted mechanism that has produced our current generation of leaders, including a board of freeholders that has been solidly Republican for a quarter century. This year, however, a wild card from within the ranks challenges that status quo. If you have not yet met Mayor John Novak of Barnegat, tonight's the night. He's an attorney, a mayor since the beginning of 2016. He was elected to the Township Committee as a Republican and now runs as an independent for one of the two open freeholder seats. Little background for you. Mr. Novak is an attorney since 1989, former state police trooper, licensed to practice law in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and before the U.S. Supreme Court. Native of Lakewood, lifelong Ocean County resident who first entered public service in 1977 as a community service officer in what was then Dover Township. He devotes time and energy to the Executive Council of the Boy Scouts of the Jersey Shore and to the Ocean County YMCA. Mr. Novak's petition to gain a spot on the ballot contained the signature of every member of the township's fully Republican governing body. He professes to speak for every disenfranchised voter, regardless of party affiliation. Well, now, the rogue Republican. Can we call you that, or do you consider yourself that?
I've been called much worse, and I am a Republican, and one could say that I'm on a rogue mission here. So yes, you can call me the rogue Republican, Tom.
You're a certified pilot too.
Multi-engine, instrument rated, that would be me.
Were you behind the controls when that banner flew over the barbecue down in Lacey? Or?
No, Tom. I actually wish that I would have been. I fly an airplane that climbs the cruise altitude and goes back and forth to Florida or wherever business takes me. The stick and rudder type of flying that is necessary for banner pickup and dropping is much more fun than what I do. But no, that was not me. That's somebody who does that for a living.
Mr. Novak, you've been mayor less than a year. Prior to that, Township Committee?
I was on the Township Committee for a one-year unexpired term in 2007. I was elected to a 3-year term as a Township Committeeman in Barnegat, commencing January of 2015. And in our form of government, the committee form of government, the other committeemen select and committee women select someone to be mayor for a year. And this year was my year.
What was it that, now you've had obviously plenty of time. You've got a lot of time since 1977 to have absorbed the fabric of the county and the political spectrum. Why do you want this job now?
Tom, in a word, I would have to tell you that I feel called to public service. I feel called to elected public office. My heart is in it. The fire in my belly is in it. It is a way that you could affect policy and guide an area that you live in. Ocean County is my lifelong home. I love Ocean County. It is the greatest place in New Jersey to live. It is an opportunity to really bring a spirit of governance that is sorely lacking. I was able to do that to some extent in Barnegat, and we have already seen changes. We've already seen changes in Barnegat with the cooperation of the entire Township Committee and for the credit of the entire Township Committee. And I look at what one person with a vision can do if the right energy and forces behind him in a small town like Barnegat, and what changes, what can we do to the course of a town? We've changed course from being indebted to having fiscal complications to now having our bond rating increased. Barnegat Township, just as an example of something I would like to bring to the Freeholder Board, just yesterday it was released to the public that politicsoc.com has been conducting a survey. I didn't know they were doing this. Apparently the investigative reporter there does his thing and releases the results when he feels his product is ready. Of all the municipalities in Ocean County, Tom, Barnegat Township was top rated, number one, the only municipality to score a perfect 100% in a transparency of local government study. Transparency in local government has been one of the hallmark initiatives that I professed that I would endeavor to do back in January. And I've done that. And I've done that with enthusiastic and sometimes less than enthusiastic support. But Barnegat Township is the most transparent municipality in Ocean County, as per a survey released yesterday. And I'm very proud of Barnegat Township. We do what's right. We don't always have people agree. You know, paint town hall red, paint town hall blue. Whichever you vote on, 60% of the people will be unhappy. That's what I'm learning. But as long as you do things the right way with a purity of motive, good people will see that. And that's what I want to do to Ocean County, Tom.
Okay, so that tells me that you see a lapse of this at the county level. Where do you see give me a specific problem that you see that needs to develop transparency.
Well,
and what you would do to fix that.
It's tough to talk about a specific problem because there's so many. Mm-hmm. I can give you two vivid examples that really touch in different areas. One is the proposed, and I don't know the number because nobody really knows the number yet, but what is being called the $100 million courthouse upgrade. From what I understand, and the details are coming out piecemeal. They haven't really been transparent. That $1.1, I believe, million was spent on a study. The study was, I don't want to call it secret, but it certainly wasn't public, and only certain portions of it were eventually released after an outcry. And this study supposedly was done by the Louis Berger Group. And this $1 million study says, yes, we do need upgrades to the courthouse. And supposedly the numbers are going to be approximately $100 million. And it just so happens that the Louis Berger Group is, from what I can tell, from what people are telling me, online to be the construction manager for this $100 million construction project. And then sources are sharing that the Louis Berger Group hired the 1868 Public Relations Group to lobby for them. And the 1868 Public Relations Group has as one of its operatives, and I believe one of its partners, Ocean County Republican Chairman George Gilmore. Now, I don't know necessarily that any of this is illegal or wrong or dirty or improper, but it certainly raises more questions than gives answers. Another example is...
Just before you move on.
Sure.
Where is that $100 million figure cited? Because I haven't seen anything close to that.
The $100 million figure has been cited as the total cost, including all fees, consulting, and soft costs, to complete the construction of the new courthouse annex. Mm-hmm. Not just the bricks and the sticks, but all of the money that will be coming out of the taxpayers' pockets.
Okay. Do you consider the current courthouse adequate in terms of space?
I've been in all 21 county courthouses in the state of New Jersey. I've been in at least 100, maybe many more municipal courts in New Jersey. The current courthouse is adequate, but not necessarily as good as some people would like it. It's not the absolute very best. It's not optimal, but it's adequate. The conglomeration of owned and rented spaces that require people to go out into the weather in between different court appearances and whatnot, it would be nice to have that all under one roof. I also know that they're remodeling the lobby of the Justice Complex. From what I'm understanding, it's taking as long, if not longer, to remodel the Justice Complex as what it took to build it from the ground up. So in answer to your question, sure, those of us who practice in the courthouse and those that work in the courthouse would like to have more and better space and would like to avoid the conglomeration of satellite space that's hither and yon all throughout downtown Toms River. But $100 million is an awful lot of money. Taxpayers in Ocean County got hit with Sandy. Local governments got hit with a reduced rateable base. Now we're facing, it looks like Wednesday, the legislature's been called back into session. We may be facing 23 cents a gallon gasoline tax, which, as you know, hits Ocean County harder than most. Mm-hmm. We travel more miles. I commute from Barnegat to Toms River every day. That's a short commute compared to most people I know in Ocean County. We don't have the public transportation that North Jersey does. So 23 cents a gallon hits us harder because the average person in Ocean County uses more gasoline in the course of a month or a year than other state residents do. So you look at all of these things put together, and you look at the father working, you look at the mother working, to say nothing of a single-parent household. You look at how many jobs people have to keep their mortgage reasonably current, buy soccer cleats for their children, pay for summer camp, daycare. You look at all the tugging and pulling that's on the family budget, and you say to yourself, we have to make every penny count in my household, and I'm a lawyer, and I've been blessed, and, we don't miss too many meals in a Novak house, and I'm doing well. But we watch our dollars. I know people that don't have a lot of dollars to watch. So when I see numbers like $100 million total cost, Tom, I know that lower figures have been quoted as far as the bricks and the sticks. You have to say to yourself, do we really need to do this? It's a lot of money. Maybe the public should have more say in it. Maybe we don't need to do secret studies. Maybe if the process were more transparent, maybe people might buy into it better. But if you don't trust the public enough to tell them everything, then you have to wonder if the public is going to trust you back.
Now you've got an implication of back scratching here, and you've tied it back to the Ocean County Republican chairman. Is it conceivable that he would let something like this happen without having his I's dotted and his T's crossed?
I don't think that any attorney, any officer of the court would commit a crime, if that's what you're asking me. I'm not accusing anyone of a crime. But, somewhere between... No,
we're talking ethics here.
Well, I don't know that I could accuse George Gilmore or any other attorney that I know of violating the rules of professional conduct. But maybe ethics, because that has a special connotation for us lawyers. Let's talk more about morality. Let's talk more about trust, because not to sparse with you over vocabulary.
No, but everything that you're saying actually points to the moral compass.
The moral compass.
Integrity.
Absolutely. I want to earn, as a committeeman and as a mayor and as a neighbor and as a father and as a lawyer and as a businessman, I want to earn the trust of people. If you and I are doing a business deal, I want to earn your trust. And once I get it, I want to keep it. I want my children to trust me. I want my neighbors to trust me. I want the people of Barnegat to trust me. You can't command trust. You can't dictate it. You have to ask for it. You have to earn it. The test of time is involved. If you get the public's trust, you have to work to keep it. It's like a good marriage. Even if it happens, you have to work to keep it. The public is not going to trust you as a government official or a government agency or a government body if you don't trust them. Bridgegate. If you tell the people you're doing a traffic study, I would suspect that people who travel the George Washington Bridge daily know a lot about the traffic flow of the George Washington Bridge. They probably spend a couple hours every day observing the traffic flow or the lack of flow. Don't tell them it's a traffic study if it's really something else. If you don't trust the public enough to tell them the truth, then they're not going to trust you. In Barnegat Township, we have things that come up where we have to tell the people. Why did we switch to once every other week, recycling in Barnegat last year? It was a cost-saving maneuver. Mm-hmm. We really needed the money. I told the public that. They didn't like it. Everybody wanted their recycling picked up every week, just like their trash. I told them the truth. Well, we suffered through it for a year. A lot of fiscal changes have been made in Barnegat. Our bond rating is up. We're on much, much more solid financial ground now. And you know what? We're moving back to once a year. We just awarded a contract. All our contracts are open and available on the public website, in the public domain. I want people to be able to see the decisions we make. You may disagree with it. You may say, well, I don't like recycling every other week. I think that's a bad decision. You're allowed to disagree. I mean, obviously, this is the United States of America. But at least don't disagree with me on having a purity of motive and a willingness to trust. I trust you with the facts, and I'm going to give you the facts, and I ask you to trust me back. See, in Barnegat, everybody on the township committee knows that I don't have a county job. Nobody in my family has a county job. Nobody's beholden to anybody except the people who elected me. I made that clear right from the first day. Everybody understands where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So, as I said in one of my articles that I wrote, I'm not a horse that's been bit and bridled and broken. Every one of my steps is not controlled by my master. No slave can serve two masters. I serve one master, and that's the God I serve. And I know what's right and what's wrong because I have a moral compass that was invented by the great inventor of the moral compass. I'm not perfect at it. I'm far from perfect at it. But that's why I'm a rogue Republican, Tom, because of that, because I'm not a horse that just plods along the path.
I want to get to a little bit more of that in just a second, okay?
It's your interview,
Barnegat
Tom.
Mayor John Novak is our guest in the Townsquare tonight, and we are examining his function and his role as he runs for a seat on the Ocean County Board of Freeholders. You'll be voting on him next month. We hope you will vote responsibly when you go to the polls. We'll learn a little bit more about Joe Novak right after this. Welcome back. Tom Angeli in the Townsquare tonight with Barnegat Mayor John Novak, who is running for a seat on the Ocean County Board of Freeholders as an independent. He's a registered Republican and running outside the line. One of the ways that Mayor Novak came to the attention of the entire state and further was the search and capture of Arthur Buckle, who had escaped Ancora and was found in the woods in the township, close to the township.
Yeah, it was actually found in Lacey.
In Lacey. One town over.
Two towns.
Okay.
You can't wear a town.
If you can't wear a town. Right. But you had a lot of time in the driver's seat on that. You were basically the face of it for a lot of people who were not directly connected to it. With that happening and with that emerging in your township, it's your first year as mayor, a few years on the township committee and all, but what did that do to your view of the way we live in this county? What did it do to your view of your role in the way we live in this county?
I can answer your second question first. I have a background in law enforcement. I have a background in the intelligence community, and I'm very sensitive to the necessity of a break between law enforcement and community service function of government. But I'm also aware of the nexus and the interaction between law enforcement and community service. The Buckle incident in Barnegat brought to the fore those two things. There was clearly the law enforcement component of capturing an escaped fugitive. There's also the community service function of keeping our public safe, making sure our law enforcement officers are watered, fed, equipped, comfortable, get any intel that they may need. So I had just pulled into my office, Tom, here in Toms River. Literally was getting out of my pickup truck. Cell phone went off. It was the chief of police, told me what we had, got right back in the truck, headed down. We didn't even have a command center at that point in time. I responded to the field. I responded to the drugstore where Arthur Buckle was first spotted, where the truck that he stole was left. From there, I went to the police station, went through a bunch of briefings, met with Department of Corrections people, state police, sheriff's department, and of course, many local police officers who assisted in the search. I said to the people running the law enforcement side of it, anything you need from the Barnegat government, tax maps, court records, tax assessment records, anything you need, you got. Our house is your house. Whatever we can do to support your mission, you got it. One of the other committee people in Barnegat, Frank Caputo, and I, later on the second afternoon, we got in my truck and went to Acme, the new Acme in town, and we literally, in the rain, loaded up the back of my truck with all the water, all the soda, all the sandwiches, all the food that we could, put on my credit card, and ran over and brought it because nobody had been thinking of doing this. You got guys there hours and hours and hours. I was there for 2 days. Now let's talk about my responsibility, or what I viewed my responsibility. I didn't need anybody to tell me. There's no book, there's no 3-ring binder with a plan on this sort of thing. I took what I believe my job was. Make sure that our residents are safe, keep our residents informed. You can't just tell people there's a dangerous felon, a child killer on the loose, and don't worry about it, we're in charge. Well, you were in charge of him before he escaped. I mean, that'd be a fair question. So people want information, and less information gives rise to more suspicion. It goes back to the trust factor we were talking about earlier.
Right.
I made sure that we did a press conference frequently. I mean, obviously, if there was clearly no development whatsoever, you don't want to have a press conference for no news. People like you get upset when that happens. But if there was even the slightest development that we could release, I wanted to have a press conference to make sure people knew about it. One thing was the safety of our children. A decision was made by the Board of Education to open schools on the second day. Now, they were shelter in place the first day. I mean, it just broke in the late morning, and and it came upon Barnegat, and everybody had to react. So when school was open the next day by the school board, we had to support that decision. It was their decision. They made the decision. Well, now we have to live with it, and we have to support them. I spoke to a representative of the governor's office shortly after 7 a.m. that morning, and he says, if there's anything we can do, let me know. Well, there is something you can do. You can send state troopers. I want state police officers posted at strategic intersections, following school buses, patrolling walking routes. I wanted our children to be as safe as possible. I wanted the public informed, and I wanted our children as safe as possible with a child killer on the loose. They sent the state police, all two of them.
What do you carry over to your role as a freeholder, assuming you win that office, from that experience?
That the public needs to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spending money to upgrade a courthouse, have a tour of the courthouse. Let the public come through. Let them see the blueprints. Let them know that you're conducting a study. Interview lawyers. Contact the Bar Association. Have a roundtable with judges, court clerks, and practitioners who go to that courthouse daily. Talk to probation officers and parole officers and sheriff's officers who have to secure the building. Have these meetings public. Let the public know what's going on. It's, when you're running a government, whether it's a local government or a county government, it's kind of like running family finances. You bring the family to the kitchen table and you say, look, we were going to go to Disney World this summer, but mom's car needs a new transmission or you're not going to be able to get to Little League practice. You have to put the facts out there. People may not like that they're not going to Disney World, but they'll understand why, because they need a car to take them to soccer practice. Those decisions, you cannot demand the public trust, Tom, unless you trust the public enough to keep them informed. And the transparency level that we've enjoyed in Barnegat, I'm proud of. I'm proud of the entire township committee. I'd love to do that as a county freeholder.
Final question for you, and it has to do with the logistics. You stand, of course, the chance of winning. You also stand the chance of draining votes. Not enough to elect you, not enough to elect someone else. You could be handing the election to either a couple of Democrats or an incumbent. Have you considered that, and where do you stand on something like that if you didn't win?
If I don't win, look, every vote for me is a vote that presumably didn't go to somebody else. Mm-hmm. There's two ways of looking at it. On the one hand, there's people that, for instance, may say, I don't like Jack Kelly and I'm not going to vote for Jack Kelly. I've met a lot of them on the campaign trail. So they could either vote for me, and by voting for me, I've taken away a vote from a Democrat, because the other choice would have been one of the Democratic candidates. Another way of looking at it is that there are people out there, apparently an awful lot of them this year, that just don't like incumbents, don't like the status quo, and want change. They don't know what kind of change they want necessarily, but they know that they don't like status quo. Well, without me, there only would have been two choices, two Democrats. With me, I could be taking those votes away from one or more of the Democratic candidates. So really, there's two ways of looking at it. And I'm sure that once the numbers come out, in the unlikely event that I lose, there's going to be pundits reviewing those numbers and coming up with theories.
Do you plan to be a force regardless of the outcome?
I will be involved in Ocean County government. I'm a young 58 years old. I swim a half a mile 3 to 4 times a week. I did right before I came here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a Republican. I'll be a Republican on the evening of November 8th, win, lose, or draw. I'll be a Republican on November 9th. But when you called me a rogue Republican 30 minutes ago, I took it as a high compliment, because I find my values jibe most closely with the Republican platform. But there's certain things that I can't support, and I have to stand against when I see the party that Ronald Reagan was a member of, the party that drew me to it years ago, doing things that I would certainly do differently. So, yeah, I'm going to stay involved, Tom. I'm going to stay involved. They haven't seen the last of me.
Mayor John Novak of Barnegat, good luck in the race.
Tom, thank you so much.
Townsquare Tonight is a presentation of Townsquare Media New Jersey's Shore News Division. Our technical coordination and call facilitation is by Mark Anthony. Video and audio coordination by Bradley James and Tom Tremblay. Programming consultation by Steve Artolina. Townsquare New Jersey's Vice President of News Operations is Eric Scott. I'm Tom Angeli. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.